Þormesson. Valbert skorar. Valbert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Markinsson og skoðaðar. Glæsilega gert. Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingvarsson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Best of Pod Ever. They're coming thick and fast. This is the end of the season, so lots of games happening as they try to kind of squeeze them all in before the weather turns real bad up there. So yeah, this was round 25, and lots to talk about. We have a team that has been officially relegated. We had some sending offs that or maybe a little bit controversial. So we're gonna dive in. We have some special guests in this episode. Trygve, you want to introduce who our special guest is?
Yeah, you've heard his voice before when we went to FCK against Breiðablik. I think that was the only time you've been on. But
yeah.
But now he's back. It's my brother Ragnar.
What's up, people? I'm his brother.
Welcome, Ragnar.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you on. Always good.
Yeah, we felt we needed a bit of coward power today to get us through this week. So yeah, we needed reinforcements. Yes,
well, that's the other piece that I should maybe mention in brief. There's been not a sacking; he hasn't been sacked, but Cowher's going to have a new manager. We'll talk about that in a sec. But first, let's kind of comb through the results a little bit. We'll start in the championship group again. Stjarnan hosted Cowher. This probably isn't the game that you guys want me to start with, but I'm starting with it. An Emil Atlason double in the 4th minute and the 34th minute sealed a 2-0 win for Stjarnan, which helped them build a little bit of a gap in the race to Europe. They took advantage of FH losing to Víkingur 2-1 away to Víkingur. It looked pretty good for FH in the first half. Bjorn Daniel put them up in the 31st minute, but there was a red card for FH in the second half, so that meant that they kind of went on the back foot, and Víkingur kind of took over the game. And Aron Ellis scored in the 80th minute, and then Nikolai Hansen, of course, pops up 3 minutes later for the winner. So that one ends 2-1 to the champions. And then Valur hosted Breiðablik, and yeah, it was a hat trick for Patrick Pedersen. Really good showing from him, plus an own goal from Anton Ari, the Breiðablik goalkeeper. So that ended 4-2. Breiðablik pulled back 2 goals through Anton Logi and Kristoffer Ingi. In the Anton's goals in the 40th minute, Kristoffer's goals in the 63rd. So we'll delve in. We'll circle back and delve into those here in just a second. In the relegation fight, so Kawa hosted EBVF. EBVF was definitely looking for something, but they felt very absent in this game. Kawa went up first with a Johan Simon goal. The Faroese man strikes again in the 19th minute, and then Haldgrimur Mar had a penalty early in the second half to go up 2-1, with EBVF's goal coming shortly after Johan Simon's goal in the 22nd minute from Jan Ingesson, which is a really nice free kick goal. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check out the highlights on YouTube. They're up now. Really nice free kick goal. So Ingesson doing his best to shoulder the team there, but wasn't enough, unfortunately. Haukau hosted Fylkir, and this is a very entertaining game. I caught most of this game, and it ends 2-2 with Fylkir playing down a man for 85 minutes, an early red card in that game. So Atli Arneson with a penalty converted it to have Haukau go up 1-0. And then right before the end of the half, Benedict Darius converts another penalty kick for Fylkir. So they go all square, 1-1 into halftime. They come out, and 10 minutes in, the Danish lad, Anton Soyberg makes it 2-1, and then this was where it got interesting. I think they couldn't take advantage of being up a man, and so in the 72nd minute, Thor Gunnar makes it 2-2, and that's how it would end. Bit of a wild game there. And then finally, Fram hosted Keflavik in a very big game, which will end 3-1 in Fram's favor. Goals coming from Gudmundur Magnusson in the 5th minute, Yannick Pohl in the 70th minute, and then Aaron Johansson in the 83rd. Keflavik's goal came from Iron Osmani in the 67th minute. That's kind of the roundup. Where do you want to start, Trygve?
Should we start in Vikingur, or do you not want to go there?
Yeah, let's go there. So in the race for Europe, this was a blow for FL for sure. I don't know how many FL fans really felt like we're going to get a result, and I know that sounds bad to say, but it is against the reigning champions now, the current champions of this season. But to be fair, we played very well the entire first half, I thought. We were pressing, we were attacking, we were aggressive, and yeah, we had Vikingur on the back foot. But the red card totally changed the game. It was kind of a silly one, if I'm being honest. 2 really, really quick yellow cards, which I thought was a little overzealous from the referee. But that meant that Asbjorn was sent off for FL, and that really changed the game here. It was just pressure from that point on. FL was on the back foot, and you just kind of felt like they were going to get a goal eventually, and when one went in, you also kind of felt like another would go in too.
Yeah, that's been what's been quite unfair about Vikingur this season is when the starting lineup came out and they were resting Pablo, their Aron Elís was on the bench, bit of a rotation from the Breiðablik game, right? And then I think some FL fans were feeling a bit hopeful, but then I mean their second team, if you can call it that, or B plus or whatever you want to call it, team is quite good, and then they have this thing of bringing on Pablo and Aron off the bench, and it's almost cheating, right? It's because these are players they don't need 90 minutes to turn a game around. They've been doing it in the league and abroad for so many years. They know exactly what to do, and especially Aron just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, and maybe a bit naive from FL, but it's hard against this Vikingur machine. Yeah,
for sure. I think, and Ragnar, you can jump in anytime that you want, just FYI. So yeah, I think, I mean, we've talked about it multiple times that FL gets into these situations sometimes defensively where they make silly mistakes, and I don't know if it's fair to say that Asbjorn made two mistakes. I personally think the ref was maybe a little harsh, but regardless, it's what happened, and so FL had to try to adjust, and yeah, like you said, I mean, this Vikingur team is so deep that they just couldn't. It's hard for teams to handle the onslaught that comes, and when you're down a man, it just makes it that much harder. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and that means that there's a bit of a gap now in between in the race for Europe. So FL stays on 37 points, but because Stjarnan won, they've now got 3 points of separation there, and Stjarnan's sitting on 40 points. So we're not necessarily mathematically out of the race for Europe, but it's probably not looking so great.
No, I mean we had a poll before the round started. We had asked our listeners and who they would think would get into Europe. And we only included Stjarnan, FH, and KR because I mean we thought Breiðablik was safe, maybe not, but I don't know. They should be, I guess. And a pretty clear majority went Stjarnan, and 0% went for FH.
It's because I didn't vote. I should have voted.
Yeah, you should always vote for yourself. That's how voting works.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have voted for KR, but I don't know if I could have done so in good faith, but I would have done it anyway.
Well, speaking of KR, and Stjarnan, since we're on the topic anyways, let's just go ahead and move there. So we won't talk too much, I guess, about the performance, or at least you didn't want to. I did not catch much of this game, so I'll kind of hand the torch to you. But we've already mentioned that Emil Atlason scored twice to give Stjarnan the win. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, there's that. If we just quickly brush through the game, like there was one of two ways this game was going to go. I think we played Stjarnan twice. We beat them once, 1-0. I think in the last episode I said we drew them the other game. I think that was me blocking out when the last time we played them, when Emil scored a hat trick. So as soon as he started doing that against us on Thursday, it all came rushing back to me. I was like, oh no, not again.
Yeah, he likes playing against you, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's an ex-coward, as many players in this division are. Yeah, so it was one of those routes. Either we were going to control them and sort of control this dynamic, youthful energy of Eggert Aron and Adolfdade and all this stuff, all these players, or they were going to walk all over us. And unfortunately, it was the latter. And yeah, it's Rúnar came out after the game, and there was no positives in his words for the team. He said it was just dreadful. Like the press was bad, the passing was bad, everything just nothing worked. He talked about how we are short of players, like we have touched on last week and before. That this is a team that doesn't have a lot of rotation capabilities. There's these games coming thick and fast, and this team basically picks itself. Like there's not much choice there. But yeah, disappointing. But yeah, I mean the big news coming out of this after this round is that, yeah, like you said, Rúnar's contract will not be
extended or renewed, or
exactly at the end of the season. So which yeah, functionally, like Ragnar said, means he's
functionally fired. I mean, I don't know how to feel. I mean, I do know how to feel about it. I'm against. So I guess I do know how to feel about it. But it's understandable, when this happens in this sport, and the results are not what you want, and maybe there's a feeling that the team hasn't progressed enough over the past few years. But I mean, some of that's down to funding, you would have to think. But I mean, I haven't been super impressed by the way that Kauer has been developing the past couple of years, but I don't put it on the manager. I never have. I mean, I think he's one of the top ones in the division. I mean, he's proven that time and time again. There is maybe a point to be made about introducing some sort of freshness if you're feeling stagnation in the team, but this could backfire, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I mean, we have it. So I have it on fairly good authority that like players have wanted to join Kauer, or at least like wanted to sound out the possibility of joining them. And so they come, they talk to some teams, and they talk to Kauer and say like, okay, I'm getting offers this much. Like, what can you do? And Kauer just basically says, yeah, no, we can't. We can't match that. Sorry. So like they're not playing the same financial game as Breiðablik, Valur, Víkingur, others. I think even Kawa with this, as you can see with the signing of Jón Simon, I think even Breiðablik balked at his wages, so that says something. So yeah, I mean finances have a huge say in this, and yeah, so this is end of his second spell now. So after the first spell, he went abroad. He coached in Norway and Belgium.
Belgium, yeah.
And then he came back, and I mean he won the league once. Like when he joined, he absolutely like lifted this team back up. And then when he came back, he joined a team that everyone said was far too old and had nothing left. And they had one of the best seasons in living memory in the Icelandic League. It was an almost perfect season. Like it was with a team that everyone had written off, right? And then yeah. There has been talk about how they've been slow to add youth into this team, and yeah, I think everyone and Rúnar has even said that. But I don't know if that's. I personally wouldn't put that on him. I think that's to do with funding. I think it's to do with just the way this club is set up. So yeah, if we go in a direction and hire Jökull from Stjarnan and lean way into youth and poach Eckert Aron or something, then yeah, this is going to go great. But I think we've seen this after Rúnar's first spell. We went with some his old assistants and other managers, and let's just say we've had some very barren spells in Coward recently, and it could easily go that way as well.
So is that just wishful thinking, the Yoko reference, or is there actually a link there?
I mean, it's more because he's an ex-Coward. I mean, basically every player is an ex-Coward player. Hamed is an ex-Coward player. Like he's been linked with Coward for many years. Jökull will always be linked because he was at Coward. I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet, and this just happened. I'm sure there will be many names posted over the next few days.
Next few years.
Yeah.
Would that be your front runner then? Is that who you'd like to see?
I think Jökull has done well with a very young team, and he's not just done well in the sense of gotten lucky. I think he's done a lot of interesting tactical stuff. So I think he could be a very interesting pick because I think he's trying some stuff. I think he's not afraid to try things and afraid to get hands a bit dirty. I think it has been in the past. Icelandic managers have maybe been a bit conservative and maybe it's a bit of much of the same kind of. There was an interesting stat that came out at some point that like about the lack of foreign manager in this league. It's quite striking when you compare it to our neighbors in the north. So Faroe Islands was 70%. It's a bit of an outlier. Denmark is 30%, Norway 12%, Sweden 27%, Finland 25%. So foreign managers in the league, and Iceland is at 0. I think so there's been a bit. I think in my opinion, there's been a bit of staleness for some managers. I think Jökull is one of the ones who was shaking things up a little bit. So he would definitely be very high on my list. But he's also about to qualify with Stjarnan to go to Europe. So how interested he is in doing that right now, I don't know.
Ragnar, what about you? Who's your front runner?
I don't know. I don't know if I have one. I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't know how much I trust Coward to get the correct person in. I don't know. Like, saw it last time that Rúnar left. There just feels like there's maybe a little bit of creativity lacking there in the decision-making department. I don't know. It feels a little bit stale. So that's my main thing. Is that I'm not. I would love to see something interesting, but I'm not necessarily holding out hope for that. So I would say I'm worried is my main thing, and unable to lift myself out of that fog.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, he's been a big asset, I think, for your club for the last X amount of years, right? And it is. When I first saw it, I was kind of like taken aback by it. Just my own 2 cents. I was kind of like, what? I mean, he took the team, and you guys had, Coward had not a very good start to the season, but then he was able to turn that around, and you guys got up into the top 6. Like, I think that's great. Yeah, maybe you guys are right. Maybe there's some sort of staleness or something. I don't know, but it's a little crazy.
I mean, it's an easy thing to fall back on when you're maybe the director of a football club like this, to think, okay, things are a little bit stale. We need to shake things up. Why not shake things up with the manager? And maybe instead they should be looking at other aspects within the club and see how that can be addressed. Maybe there's sort of other cultural issues within Coward, because obviously they are, they're considered a classical heavy hitter. So in teams like that, sometimes there's the lack of thinking that you need to, challenge yourselves and innovate in other ways. And you fall back on the fact that, oh, look at us, we have all these titles in our trophy case, and we're the biggest club. We should be able to just keep on trucking, and success will come. And thinking that, the easy shuffle is always the manager. I don't know. I think maybe there's bigger rebuilds to be done there at the club, some more introspection to be done.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the women's side, for example, and they just got relegated from the first division, so they're going into the Icelandic second division, which is not a great place for a team like Coward to be. They shouldn't be there. you can argue about the focus. Maybe they are clearly putting more focus on the men's side, but that shouldn't be this is a team that has been struggling. The women's side has been struggling for many years, but the fact that they just got relegated from the first division is, like Ragnar said, maybe a bit of a litmus test for the overall mood of the club. Yeah, Jurkut would be fantastic, but yeah, I definitely share Ragnar's pessimism and worry that this could go horribly wrong, that we could just hire some inside man, and yeah, we could be much. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's really impressive that after that horrible first round, when people were talking about can Coward be relegated, to we were three games before the end of the season, we were still in European contention. That's huge. I worry that we're not going to be that close next year.
So two thoughts, and hopefully I can hold on to both of them and they don't escape. But the first thought is, you had mentioned earlier about having difficulties landing some players because of the amount of fee or whatever, or salary or whatever that they wanted, and the club just basically being like, nah. Is that, and I'm assuming you guys have more insight on this. Clearly you will than I do. But is that because the club is just unwilling to do that, or is that because financially they don't have the finances to do that? I don't know. I don't have that level of insight of how willing they are to open the purse strings, but yeah, no, they just can't. They can't compete. It's the lack of Europe, and when they are in Europe, it's not gone well enough. Europe, unfortunately, is a huge financial linchpin upon many clubs' financial success is built upon. Mm-hmm. Many years ago, I was talking to a person about Icelandic finances, and it was very much like that. Like if a club doesn't qualify for Europe, like many clubs are very much building on qualifying for Europe, and if they don't, they're in serious trouble. So yeah, I think we're maybe seeing a bit of that over the last few years. There is this, clubs are very much building on this success, that waiting for the European money, and then if it doesn't come for a few years, yeah, they struggle, especially with teams like Breiðablik now getting into actual group stages. That's so then this gap is just going to get bigger and bigger if this keeps on going. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. So the other question I have, and it's probably too early, it's probably way too early to really even answer this question, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Where do you think that Rúnar will end up? Do you think he'll stay in Iceland, or do you think he'll go abroad again? I mean,
so last time abroad, that's the thing, right? He was burnt a little bit by poor management decision-making in Belgium, is how it ended, as how I'm going to choose to describe how it ended last time. I think that's quite clear, that's how it ended. The question is whether he takes that as a, I don't know, the question is how he takes that, right? Whether he sort of says, fuck it, and just goes on and tries again, which I think he should, because I think he has the talent and the drive to do that, or whether he thinks that maybe he's found his footing in Iceland and should stay there, which I personally don't think he should. There's obviously everyone's always talking about the national team, which has been filled, so maybe that's not something that's going to be discussed now, but I think he has the character and the skills to do that as well at some point. So I mean, maybe he takes a little break and then comes back to that, but I would push for him to go abroad and go down that route again. I would love to see him do that again. I mean, that's, I almost didn't want him to come back to Coward because I thought that he should, obviously I wanted him to come back to Coward, to be at Coward, because I want him there as a manager, and I still do, but I think that he has the talent to push even further, and I really think he should go for that.
Yeah, no, so he was at Lillestrøm in Norway and then Lokeren in Belgium, and yeah, like Ragnar said, it was very much he's a legend at both those clubs. He played as a player, did very well for both those clubs. So it was an easier door for maybe to get into. But yeah, it was. Those clubs weren't in the best position at that time. So
no.
So no, I would agree with that. And I think he should, in my opinion, should just go abroad, keep going, keep pursuing that avenue, and because I think he's definitely one of our best coaches and has something to offer and to learn. And I think if he would do that, he would be a really good international manager as well in the future.
I think that's what you should go abroad, maybe take a job that's not the classical Icelander job to take. I think that's sometimes the mistake that, a mistake or not a mistake. We go abroad to the places that are easier for us to go to, right? And that's tended to be a couple of the Nordic countries plus Belgium. But there's other things out there. There's other exciting projects and prospects and other things that he could do where he could maybe work his way up a little more, because I do feel that Icelanders go to these places and maybe stagnate a little bit there, where I think he could try something different and then go on, move to the Premier League, win the Champions League, and then manage Iceland, win the World Cup, and then we're good.
Oh, there we go. That's the ideal. I love it. Let's do it. That's good. Cool. Well, yeah. Let's leave the coward chat there. I guess that was really good. That was some good insight. Thanks, guys. I love it. I guess we'll turn now to the other game that was in the championship group, and that was Valor Breidablik. By choice, Trygve and I decided not to watch this game. But we should mention that Patrick Pedersen did get a hat trick, and so props to him. That's pretty cool. It's not none of these games in the top half are easy. So to get a hat trick against a team like Breidablik is an impressive thing. So good for him. Trygve, I think you had some sort of stat revolving him, right?
Yeah, so he's obviously one of the more successful strikers in Iceland history. He's now on 98 goals in the Icelandic league, top league. So I think he's like the 6th highest ever goal scorer in the league. 2 goals from 100. He could very realistically get there by the end of the season. No, it's just he's phenomenal, and it's a bit scary that he's back now to full fitness and scoring again. And I think if he can keep fit, then he will be a huge danger for everyone next year. Because he's definitely one of the high profile players in the league. He was famously bought back from Moldova, where he was in Sheriff Tiraspol. That was a very big deal when he was bought, because he was sold from Valur. He just did well and he's had this sort of big money move. And then they bought him back, which is not quite rare in Icelandic football. Not just that he comes back, but that they bought him back from a European, I'm not going to say powerhouse, but like a team that plays in Europe and was in the Champions League not that long ago. So he's on his own little level.
But it also again speaks to the sort of financial disparities in the league when a team can make a purchase like that, throw down some cash. That's not for everyone to do. So obviously that sort of plays into what we were talking about before, these sort of disparities that pop up.
Yeah, he's a fun player to watch, and I think if he probably was more adapt to staying fit and hadn't been injured earlier in the season, he'd probably be breaking that record already, would be my guess. Well, that puts a little bit of pressure on Breidablik, I think. I don't want to sit here and say that they're going to crash out. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. We don't know. But it's fun nonetheless to maybe they're squirming a little bit, so to speak. So that makes things all the more interesting as we go into the final two rounds. So that'll be good. All right, let's move to the relegation group, the bottom half. Let's start actually with Fram, because this was a big game. We talked a lot about this on our last episode, and so there's a little bit of build-up here because Fram absolutely needed to get a win, and they did. So that officially relegates Keflavik. They're down. Keflavik's season's been a bit of a disaster, hasn't it?
15 points is not great. 2 wins, 14 losses. It's not a form that's going to keep anyone in any league ever. So
the interesting thing is that they have both Fylkir and IBVF in the last 2 games. So they're playing two of the teams that are in sort of the most relegation danger. So is this an automatic 3 points for both? Because then that makes things very interesting. Or can they muster up one last bit of fight before they go down and drag one of these teams down with them? Because I think that could be a litmus test for who follows them down the league.
So if you had to pick one at this point in time, I'll give you my pick. I was impressed with the fight from Fylkir against Haukau. They were down a man for, as I already mentioned, most of the game. And I think mentally, I think they're in a good place. EB Vuff, on the other hand, I know they were playing Kawa, and Kawa is best of the bunch in that group, obviously. And to be fair, EB Vuff played them fairly close for most of the game. But on the flip side, it really felt like EB Vuff was sleepwalking through that game, and they woke up in the last 15 minutes. It was crazy. And when you're trying to fight relegation, you can't fall asleep for 75 minutes in a game. You really got to be switched on. And I just didn't get that from EB Vuff in this game. And one thing that I noticed as I was watching this that was a bit confusing to me is so obviously EB Vuff knew they had to go for the points, and so they were trying to throw players forward. And I'll give you an example of Richard King, the Jamaican kid. He was trying to get forward, and so he'd go up, but then the play would move past him, right? And so he got in this awkward space where he was torn between, okay, well, do I defend or do I attack now? And he got caught out several different times. I think luckily for him, none of those really ended up in a goal, but what I was noticing is he became completely ineffective. He didn't know whether to attack or defend. I don't know what that means for EB Vuff going forward. It probably isn't anything that's great. Maybe that's something that they're going to work on today and tomorrow, since the next round's on Sunday. But that doesn't give them a lot of time, obviously. But yeah, that was just one thing that I noticed in this game.
Yeah, no, my pick is also EB Vuff, two of those two. I kind of had this feeling for a while. Like I said in the last episode, I thought Fram would have pulled safer by now. I was a bit disappointed and a bit worried for their sake that they hadn't. Yeah, Fylkir have just been had a weird season where they've had this fight in them that they maybe just had also parts of games and runs where they had nothing's really worked, but then they've always sort of come back. EB Vuff, maybe I just haven't watched enough of them, or maybe I've just been unlucky when I have watched them. It just I haven't. They've been a bit like Keflavik in the sense that they try and it just never seems to be enough.
It's just a lack of goals, man. They've only scored 29 goals this season, just over a goal a game. And in this sort of position, if they're sleepwalking 75 minutes of a game when they're relegation almost favorites, not really capable of scoring goals, you need a lot of mental fortitude to pull through these. If they don't get 3 points against Keflavik, then that's them done.
All right, well, all three of us going for EB Vuff. That's.
I also hated them as a kid, so that's. Because there was a time when they were good and they were sort of fighting with Coed, and never forgave them for that.
All right, well, is there anything else that stood out to you, either of you, that you wanted to mention before we move on to our players of the round, our 3 stars of the round?
I guess maybe Emil Atlason, right? Just talk about the fact that he's mentioned that he's only two goals from matching the goals record in a single season. So we touched on him a little bit before, right? But being a good player, 17 goals in a season. I mean, that's maybe something to shout out, right? If you can bag a couple more by the end of the season, then go down in the history books. That'll be something. Yeah,
that's pretty spectacular. Golden Boot looks all wrapped up for him at this point. So yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah, especially since he started the season injured as well. So it's because it is a longer season. So there's always that caveat that they have more games. Vikingur. I think Vikingur also broken a record. They're the first team to reach 70 goals in a season. But I mean, there's always going to be this caveat that there's more games than there used to be. but I think Emil has played the similar sort of games that the players back then used to play.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Emil can rack up some goals against Vikingur. That's who they have next.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All right. Good. Well, we're gonna leave it there. When we come back, we will just briefly talk about our 3 stars of the round. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to part 2. We're gonna talk about our 3 stars of the round, and we just got done talking about one. Emil Atlason is our first star of the round. Obviously, with his performance, grabbing those 2 goals and being only 2 goals away from the record, that's pretty great. Yeah, he did well in this game, as he always does. Good work rate and whatnot. So he is our first star.
Yeah, and then number 2, to follow this theme of strikers, we're going with Yannick Pohl from Fram. We've talked about him a lot in the last few weeks, and there's a reason for it. He's been a huge reason why Fram have had this resurgence, or like this playing better. Maybe they haven't played as well as we would have, or the fans would have liked, but I think without him they would be in very serious trouble. So and then another great game, goal and an assist, and drove them to a very important 3 points.
Yeah, I think his ability to connect the back to the front to the back, or front to the middle, however you want to phrase it, I think is key for Fram, as you mentioned there. Like it's been good to have him back. So yeah, he's our second star. Our third star, Ragnar, you wanna do this one?
Yes, sir. Third star, we've also talked about him. Going with Patrick Pettersson. Scored a hat-trick, like we said. And we also touched on his milestone. I guess 2 goals away from 100 goals in the top division. But I mean, yeah, we've already sang his praises. I think it's clear why he's on this list.
Very good. All right. Well, looking ahead, so games, as we mentioned, are coming thick and fast. So the round yesterday, and then we already have another round on Sunday. And this is there's only 2 left. So Sunday and then Saturday. Then that's it for another until next year, which is crazy. It's gone by really fast. But yeah, we've got Kauer at home to Breidablik. What do you guys think about that game?
Yeah, not confident. I think we might have run out of energy there. We offered no goal threat against Jartan, and I'm afraid it's going to be very similar there. So maybe Rúnar can give us one last hurrah in front of the fans.
Yeah, the fans are gonna play a role. The problem with Kauer's home field is sometimes the crowd is a little bit lacking. And this is especially the sort of game where the crowd would be very lacking, coming off a bad game, going into a game that's going to be very difficult. Maybe the fact that Rúnar is leaving is going to sort of bring more people, give it a little bit more atmosphere, which I guess is their only hope in this game.
That could be. Well, we'll have to see. All right, Valor hosts FAO, and then Stjarnan hosts Vikingur. Keflavik hosts Fylkir, and then Fram hosts Kaua, and Haukau hosts IBVF. So I will be looking forward to the Haukau IBVF game. I will be probably trying to tune into that one myself.
Yeah, there's a significant chance that IBVF will be down at the end of this round, probably, right? It's going to be a game, but IBVF are probably going to lose.
Some predictions there. All right. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. All right, good. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon to kind of review things. And as ever, if you're listening to the show and you'd like to see more of what we do, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Besta English. We would love the support, and we would appreciate any sort of ratings that you'd like to give us. Hopefully it's a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on. That helps us. That helps other people find us as well. With that, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.